I'm James, and I have a very handy-dandy perfume for you guys. Let's talk about King Intense by Parfums Vintage. Welcome to J-ROYL, everyone. My name is James, and this is a channel where you can get all kinds of handy-dandy information on the wonderful world of fragrances. The Royal Rush is where I talk about a fragrance fairly quickly. I basically give you my impression of the fragrance and whether or not you should buy it based on my own opinion. Parfums Vintage is coincidentally not a very vintage perfume house. It is fairly new, fairly recent. They originally launched Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Noir, which were pineapple-based fragrances, funny enough.
Got him!
Gotta love that pineapple. You gotta love that pineapple because the king of all men's fragrances currently, according to many, is Aventus by Creed. Creed was the first major pineapple-heavy men's fragrance that took the world by storm because it really is a unique combination of pineapple musk, woods, some smokiness, just a fantastic versatile fragrance that performs quite well and smells intoxicating. This company, as far as I know, was born out of capitalizing on the success of Aventus. And you can tell from their line of fragrances, there's a lot of pineapples featured. So King Intense is pretty blatant in its name. Essentially, it hopes to be an intense version of the King. Not Elvis. He sucks. While Pineapple Vintage Noir and Intense and Vintage, they were a little more simplistic in their use of pineapple, Noir being a bit sweeter, a little bit darker. King Intense tries to bring up the other notes of Aventus, making it a little bit more woody, a little bit more musky, and the dry down a little bit more rich. It's also worth mentioning that there is King as well, as opposed to King Intense, but more on that later on. Performance on my skin is pretty solid. I get Monstrous Projection for the first hour, and when I'm talking monstrous, I mean I got noticed 3 meters away from me on 2 separate occasions within an hour of spraying this. 2 hours after that, it's about arm's length projection pretty consistently on my skin, but it becomes very faint at the 6 to 7 hour mark. Why this is cool? I feel the name is very appropriate because of all the Pineapple Vintage fragrances that I have smelt, this is the one that really takes a stab at Aventus. I have loved Pineapple Vintage Noir ever since it was first released, but I was pretty clear in stating that it wasn't really an Aventus clone. Maybe it tried to be, but it ended up being its own fragrance, which I like. It gives me another option in addition to Aventus within that beautiful pineapple genre. King Intense, however, it brings a little bit more to the table. It has more nuance, more depth. It's not as in your face and apparent with its use of pineapple. It is more just a general woody, fruity, musky fragrance that smells a lot like Aventus. It's also nice because it has a green apple type of zestiness, which adds to the pineapple that's already in this DNA. When I wore this 2 days ago, I was waiting for an Uber, and again, a few meters away, a girl said, "Who's wearing Aventus? Oh my God, you smell great." And there was only me and my buddy there, and he had no fragrance on because he's a loser. So yeah, pretty cool. She thought I was wearing Aventus, and she smelt me from quite a distance too. Why I don't like this? With its nuance, with its depth, with its nice balance of notes, it becomes pretty linear on me. It just remains the same throughout its entire lifespan. I tend to like fragrances that develop because it's more interesting and it's more fun for the wearer. What you see is what you get here. You spray it on, that's kind of what it's gonna smell like for the duration of your time using it. It's a great sentence. Also, the presentation size at the time of this video is only really available in 50 ml sizing, which is allegedly due to the fact that the ingredients in here are fairly expensive, but I don't feel I would pay a premium when I can get something like Pineapple Vintage Noir, which gives me a somewhat similar overall experience at a more cost-effective price. Should you buy this? No. $79 for 50 ml is just a bit steep for this fragrance, but I only own this because it was given to me. This is not one that I would personally buy. I did mention King earlier on, and just to get into that a little bit, personally, I do enjoy King Intense more than King. I feel if you want to reach for something more woody than the original ones, why would you go with King? It's just kind of in the middle. go with something like King Intense, which is a little more brazen with its use of cedarwood and patchouli. But personally, I would still reach for Pineapple Vintage Noir over this or King. And if you're just watching this video because you want Aventus without the Aventus price, you can always get a decant. You can always get little samples of Aventus and just wear that. But that was just my opinion, everyone. Get your own. If you have any questions on any Parfums Vintage fragrances, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more Royal Rush videos, click on that box there, and there's some more content here and here, and a subscribe button. Done.